Tell us a little bit about your investment approach to stocks, or what goes behind your research process. How do you find the next Nifty 50 stock? That is.
So I think it's a very good question, and I think very apt, especially because I think as we are going through this change. So I think over the years, I think we've been changing, and then I'll tell you where we stand today and how we want to be seen. 10 years back, I think, or 15 years back, I think if you had asked me this question, I would have told you we are bottom-up stock pickers and opportunity investors. We see wherever we see an opportunity, we'll invest. That was the view 15 years back. As we talk today, I think my answer to this will be our approach is is an institutionalized approach, number one. Number two, by design in the company, we do not have any face. And I'm again repeating this. By design, we do not have any face. It's a faceless organization. What I mean by that is we don't want to have the halo effect of a fund manager. I think there is a process and the process has to be followed. And for me, I've been very interested, and I think understanding how companies in Japan. So let's take Nippon Life, a 130-year-old company, and 130 years, so much has changed. How the processes become so important part of the running the company that it does not matter who's there or who's not. I'm not trying to say that people are not important, but I think from a bigger point of view, what I'm trying to say, processes become important. So from our point of view, right now, we're a mix of two things. First, the basic philosophy is it's a very highly institutionalized approach with the risk management coming to the core, having very strong framework and freedom within the framework. So, and I'll try to define it what I mean. So we are trying to implement a lot of factor analysis. So what you can invest, where you can invest, but there's a complete freedom. So an example, we will never like to take a scenario where assuming financial services is 25% of index and we say we will be zero. No, we cannot be zero. Because today the type of investors we are looking at, I think for them volatility, you can go right once, you can go right twice, but you can also go wrong 10 times. I think how do you have basically risk adjusted return? So that is also getting reflected in the fact over the last 3 years our tracking error is just coming down. So by design, we are working on, if one line, strong bottom-up stock picking, but after that, it is with a very strong overlap of processes, institutionalized approach, and then freedom within the framework. So I think what we believe is this is both an art and science, but it is not purely, that I think, because this is the fiduciary money that we are managing, there cannot be a fund manager bias beyond a certain point, that I don't like this, so I will not invest in it. So it's a very, so unlike some asset management companies in India, where I think it's a very high personalized view, So I think, so we are trying to reduce the bias with the very strong framework and trying to get the best of art and science. Complicated answer what I've given you, but I think it's a, believe me, it will make you understand, in times to come, it's an approach so that does not matter who's there. But I think the basic stuff will always remain the same. Again, this is a very interesting thing. People, I think all of us who are from capital markets, we see things very differently. This is again the same example of what I was training in BKC. But I think when you go to a small town, for him, it does not matter who's managing. I think, is there any volatility or not? Is he achieving what he wants to achieve? I think that's where I think we confuse it. And I think all of us being very close to, capital markets, try to look at the portfolios very differently, the people who manage it very differently. And again, I go back and I've been so impressed when every time, I've been talking, to my colleagues in Japan. How is it that I think over 130 years, the basic philosophy remains the same of the company? People in 130 years, by law of nature, so many people are not there, but it remains the same. People keep changing in different roles, but it's such an institutionalized approach. So I think that's again something. So we are trying to, if I can use the word with this integration, we are trying to get Indian passion and Japanese perfection. If you were to get that word, I think it's there is a very different passion that we have as Indians, and at least this team has. I think we want to go there, and there is the perfection and the process orientation. So I think I earlier talked about the change in shareholding. The one big change will be, like in any Indian company, many times we'll be planning let's have this meeting tomorrow, this, that. I can tell you in my calendar at this point of time, there are meetings for 2024 also, so that's the way it is, planned. So it helps. And I see if you get the right mix of localization and getting the process orientation, so that is something which, helps. But again, I'm trying to match it with the, take it to your question, which you talked about management style and with COVID. But I'll say without COVID also, my big style that is changing now is to build long-term global organizations. I think to have very strong processes and institutional approach is very critical. It has to be beyond individuals. It has to be beyond individuals. And that is, I think, what we are trying to create. I think we are trying to create, while we talked a lot about only mutual fund, I think I think as a team, we are trying to create a global player out of India, which is not only a mutual fund, which is going to be private equity, AIF, real estate, and a lot of the other things we've started doing. But I'm right now today we're focusing more on mutual fund. But I think the approach will be, we want to be a true blue asset management company. Mutual fund is going to be one important part of it. ETF, AIF, offshore money, venture fund. We launched Indo-Japan startup fund, a startup fund, which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Abe there, and that is about getting Japanese money into Indian startups. So these are a lot of things which are happening, and I think you'll see us play a very different and a very big role in the Indian, both listed and unlisted space in times to come. And this is just a starting of a new journey, which is going to be much beyond mutual funds.